Oh boy. Okay.
Kyoto
Well.
wins the middle finger award for creating me.
This will all be sorted out in heaven. Nate and I are going to be barbecuing, and all you Calvinists are always welcome.
What exactly are you doing in heaven? I think you just really made Billy mad.
Wait, did you just say you're going to
Tofu.
be
Barbecuing tofu.
That doesn't sound like heaven.
All right. I have to bow
I
out
don't
again
want to
for a
be
little
crooked.
while. Thanks for the conversation. I'll check back in later.
Thanks, Nate. All right, where do we want to go? Who's new that's got something, or who's old that's got something? We're moving away.
Yeah,
from this until next time.
I'm new. I had
Billy, what do you have for us today, Billy?
So
Billy, be good, okay?
So I had a quest.
Be good. Be high.
When am I ever not? When am I ever not
You're
good?
great, Billy. You're one of the. You're the next legion of vegans that have come onto the stage today.
Uh-huh. Did you have some other vegans who came on?
Yeah, one of them wasn't
vegan,
light
dude.
as you are, but we definitely had a vegan come up on stage afterwards too.
We had not as lively as me.
No, not as live. I mean, polite. As in, you're a very respectful person, Billy. I've talked with you on stage a couple times. This other vegan, I guess.
Well, I can get a
ironically
bit
enough,
heated
was
sometimes.
carnal. It's ironic that the most carnal person we had on stage today was a vegan, but
Well,
the way you
I
put
can
that.
I can kind of understand the anger of vegans. I do. I mean, when I watch like videos of like animals being tortured and killed, like I think you'd be hard pressed to call yourself a human if you're not angry at that. So I can understand the anger. And I was very angry when I became a vegan, and I sat down and watched Dominion, and I watched foxes be skinned alive, and ducks be skinned alive, and pigs be boiled alive, and cows be raped and have their children taken away. Like, I was angry, right? So I can understand the anger, but I guess with time you just got to learn to tone it back.
The thing is,
Wait,
because all your arguments are correct, and I actually concede to every single one of your points. I just can't bring myself to do it.
wait, cows have children?
I mean, I'm just going to ignore that because I had a question. So
Felix is a rancher.
Oh, I know, it's fine. So I was speaking before to some people, and they seem to be unclear about what it means. But what does it mean for God to know everything? Like, what does the word knowledge in that context mean?
Yeah, so God is the foundation of all truth. God created the world, and He is the creator, and we are His creatures. And so our entire framework of knowledge, all the facts that we're acquainted with, all of those are directly related and caused by Him. So everything that can be known would be Him, through Him.
Well, what does the word knowledge mean? Like, are you using like a justified true belief, a pragmatist view, or like what? What does the word knowledge mean?
A justified true belief, that's ultimately just arbitrary, right? That's a false definition of something that's facts. How would you have any knowledge? How would you have knowledge of anything that is absolutely true in a system where justified true beliefs is how you ground something? How does that work?
But I don't understand how that's an answer to the question. I'm just sort of like trying to understand what you mean when you use the word knowledge, right? Like, there are different theories.
Well, so we would define knowledge as knowing things that are true and absolute.
Yeah, but you understand that you're using okay, so there's something called a definition, a definiendum and a definiens, right? So the definiendum would be the thing you're trying to define, right? So in this case, it's knowledge, right? And the definiens would be how you define that, right? So if you use the definiens, if the definiendum appears in your definiens, then you're going to run into problems, right? If I'm trying to define the word person, and I say, a person is someone who identifies as a person, right? Well, that's just going to be circular, right? Because we can just be like, we're still unclear about what a person means, right?
Are
So you're
circular arguments invalid?
You're talking about metaphysics, right, Billy? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah, he's talking about what. So and that's a good point. So when you say, what does a person mean? These things can only ultimately be defined within the context of a biblical worldview. That's my position.
Correct.
How would you know what anything is when you
Well-
reject having a foundation to ground a certain thing? Wouldn't everything? Wouldn't knowledge ultimately be arbitrary?
Correct.
Well, I mean,
Billy,
I'm still
Billy, hang on,
unclear as
Billy.
to what you even mean
Billy,
by the
Billy,
word knowledge, right?
Billy.
Because the definition. Sorry?
Yeah, I'll explain. So to us, a person is someone who is made in the image of God. That's what man is.
No, wait, but that wasn't the question I asked. It was, what does...
Cut out, Billy.
Okay, I'm sorry. I kept muting him because he just okay. So the question on the table is, where does knowledge come from, or how do you determine knowledge?
No,
Billy, what's the question?
That's not the question.
Yeah, how do you
That's
define?
not quite
What's
the question.
What's the question, Billy?
How do you define knowledge?
Yeah, that's the question. Not how do you obtain, but sort
Okay,
of
how do you
what is
define
the
knowledge?
definition
Okay.
of knowledge.
Okay, so let's start here and we'll build upon this because I can give you the lowest common denominator. So I already know Billy. I've already talked with Billy enough, so I know what Billy believes and how his behavior is going to be consistent with his belief, unless he's made a new decision, which I don't think so. So all knowledge and wisdom is hidden in Jesus Christ. Period. Now, for those people who say, well, that's not true. I know knowledge and I didn't go to Jesus Christ to find it, to learn it, to understand it. That is true. Adam and Eve didn't have the knowledge of good and evil either, but they ate of the fruit and they passed that down to you. So you know the difference between good and evil. Just enough to get you in trouble when you want to slap God's face, who created you, and argue against that. So the definition of knowledge is God, is Jesus. Actually, he's the answer for just about every single question you have. And if you don't want to go there, then we understand. You have the choice to suppress Jesus Christ as much as you want, as often as you want, but you can only do it so much in this room before it gets to be, blank for me and for the rest of the folks here. So I'm going to put that as a foundation. Billy, do you agree or disagree with that? And then we'll go and whoever wants to answer you can. And then when we're all done, you can, let us know what you think of the answer you were given and move on.
Yeah, okay. So I think there's a problem because you define knowledge as Jesus or God, right? And now, if I take knowledge, you define you define knowledge to be Jesus, right? Now, if you define knowledge to be Jesus, and you say something like, I know that my brother is in school today, right? Well, that means that proposition, my brother is in school today, is Jesus, right? Because that's how you've defined it.
Okay, Billy,
So
don't be silly. Billy. Okay, let me break it down even more for you because
am I wrong in that?
Billy, it doesn't even apply. I'm talking about
100%
apples.
wrong.
You want to interject oranges. Listen to me, Billy. This is about the spirit realm. This is about the unseen world, okay?
I never brought in
this
any
is about
of
the
that.
things that you... Okay, Billy, this is about reality. Reality is that there are two worlds, the seen and unseen world, and you live in both, okay? Whether you believe it or not, confess it or not, it doesn't matter, okay? You live in both. I'm only talking about the unseen world, okay? The seen world, you can figure that stuff out by yourself. Don't come here and ask me, if you ate a bologna sandwich yesterday, and is that true, yes or no? Because I don't care, and it doesn't matter. But if you say that nobody created you, and you just popped into existence, and you now know the truth, and you're going to come here and preach it? Heck
What
no.
has that got to do with anything? Look, I'm just asking what you mean by knowledge.
I just told you. So
when you say that,
go on mute, and the next person will answer you.
Yeah, Billy, I don't know that this conversation is going to go anywhere. So let me give you one verse to share with you that helped me with this. And that is Isaiah 55, verse 8. It says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways." So whatever we think we can wrap our head around knowledge, God is way beyond that. He does not think like we think. So you're asking a question that I don't think is going to get you anywhere here in this room.
So, I mean, it basically just makes the notion of knowledge unintelligible. If you just can't define it, then, I mean, I just have no idea what you mean when you say God knows all things, right?
How do you define knowledge?
Oh, I don't have any, like, well thought out definition.
So how do you know our definition is wrong if you don't have something thought out?
No, I'm not. Look, I don't think a definition can be wrong. I mean, it's just how you define terms. But I mean, I guess I'd just hold to JTB. I got to order breakfast. Just give me a sec.
Don't forget to get the bacon.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, the thing. Hold on, really quick. My gripe with Billy is I gave him an explanation, and when I ask him questions, he'll just go immediately to dodging it, right? And then when pressed, well, how do you define knowledge? Apparently it's sufficient for him not to have an answer, but he demands an answer from his opponent.
Well, that's not true. If you want to say that you don't know what knowledge means, that's fine, right? You can say
that's not
that
what
you
I
don't.
said.
No, that's fine. But I'm saying that you said
Tell
that
me what I
I'm
said.
demanding an answer, but I'm not demanding an answer. If you say I don't know what knowledge means when we say that God knows all things, that's fine, right? You can say that. I'm
Is
not
that what I
demanding
said?
an answer.
Is that what anyone said though?
No, that's not what you
Okay.
said. You gave some sort of like weird definition of truth, which
what did I
wasn't what
say?
I was asking. Well, you gave some strange definition
have-
of truth.
Can you have knowledge without truth?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay. So can you ground truth?
How is that relevant to anything? I'm just asking what you mean by knowledge.
If truth is required for knowledge and you can't ground truth, can you have knowledge?
What does it mean to ground truth? What's the grounding relation?
See, this.
Stop asking more
This
questions.
is what I mean.
Answer the question.
But I don't know. Look, what's the grounding relation? What's this grounding
Billy, I'm
truth
going to let
mean?
this go about one more minute, and then we're just going to move on, okay?
Look, if I say...
So, behave, Billy.
Look, I've been reading about grounding relations in metaphysics, and it's a monumentally tough concept to understand. So when you throw out notions of like grounding truth...
Billy, what do you mean? What do you mean by metaphysics?
Metaphysics would be not physical things like
What do you mean by physical things?
Well, physical things I take would maybe be a semantic primitive, like physical. But
I don't. That doesn't give me a definition. Like, what do you mean by physical things?
I've said that I think physical would be a semantic primitive.
So, but what does that mean?
You don't know what a semantic primitive means?
Well, I'm asking you what it means because you're using these words, and I'm asking the question to know what do you mean by it?
This guy's just trolling. Look.
I mean, asking. Like, this is what you're doing. You're
Billy,
asking.
Billy, go on mute. Billy,
Yes,
go on mute.
So
Okay,
I mean,
so-
he won't answer.
No, he's not going to. Okay, so let me show what Billy's
I did
doing.
answer all the questions.
So earlier I said, Billy, don't be silly, don't be ridiculous. That is a silly question, and I'm being nice. So I said, you live in two worlds. You live in the seen world and the unseen world. And now he's talking about metaphysics. So he was just blowing smoke about the bologna sandwich or whatever it is that he was talking about. He was blowing smoke. I know it. We all know it. I give people the opportunity to come up here. I'm hoping and praying that they're up here because they want to repent and they want to know the next steps. But it doesn't seem like that's the case with Billy. So Billy knows what he's doing. And he's already proved to everybody by me unpacking what I just did. He knows that there is a unseen world. And to understand the truth about that, he can't use his own brain. no human can use their own brain to understand what they can't see. Because most atheists will say, well, if I can't see it, it's not true.
I'm not an atheist,
Billy,
just to be clear.
Okay, so you do believe God exists, and you are suppressing the knowledge of Jesus Christ and his call for your life. Is that what you're doing then, if you're not an atheist? Because you're certainly not born again, is that correct? Or are you born again? Let me ask you that. If you're not an atheist, then are you born again, Billy? Just a yes or no will do. Billy, the mute button's on the bottom right of your screen. I know you know this. All right, we're going to move on. Does anybody have anything else? Jay, you're
sorry.
Okay,
no
worries.
I was running
no worries.
for
okay,
a.
we're going to come back. We're going to come back. Billy,
Yeah.
go on
I
mute.
was running for my bus.
That's not. No,
so-
no worries. Just go on mute. We'll come back.
What?
Yeah, go on mute. We'll come back to you. Jay, welcome to the stage.
Right.
What do you got,
Hi.
brother?
Hey. So, yeah, I have a question. I mean, there you said Billy knows what he's doing. So I guess you assume that means Billy has knowledge of what he's doing. So by your definition, Roy, does that mean that Billy has Jesus of what he's doing?
No, Billy has the understanding of good and evil that he inherited from his grandpappy and grandmammy when they ate of the fruit. So he inherited the good and evil part of knowledge, right? This is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And Billy doesn't want to use that definition because he likes to use another definition because he's suppressing all knowledge that he already has of the truth that Jesus is his creator. Or if he doesn't know it's Jesus directly, he knows God created him. He may not know his name, but he knows God did it. It wasn't some poof, I'm Billy and I'm here.
So if I understand correctly, then by your definition, you said he's suppressing all knowledge of the truth, which is Jesus. Is that saying he's suppressing all Jesus of the truth, which is Jesus?
Well, I don't know what you said, but if somebody did, please answer Jay.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, let me ask you the question that I asked Billy that he ran from. Do you need to know things? Does absolute truth need to exist for you to know something? To be true? To know something to be true, anyway?
Sure. Do you share the definition that Roy does of knowledge?
Well, I'm just asking you a question. If you don't want to answer, that's fine.
Well, what do you mean by no?
Well, if someone makes a truth claim, okay, how are you going to define truth? Does it have to be something that's arbitrary?
Truth is a property of propositions, right?
Excuse me?
Isn't truth a property of propositions?
If truth is the property of propositions, then how would you ever know if the original proposition was true?
Well, I don't understand your question.
Let's say you have a proposition. How do you know if it's true? Wouldn't that be wouldn't you be presenting a circular argument? Let's say I provide you a proposition. How do you know if it's true?
We seem to be talking past each other, so we need to define what do you mean by truth? And
okay, here.
So I asked you a question.
Yeah, and I didn't understand your question.
So in order for you to know stuff, does truth have to exist?
Well, how we're talking past.
Okay, wait a second, Jay. You can answer that.
There are different theories of truth.
Okay, Jay, hold on. That's why we stopped with Billy. I didn't want to, jump out of the frying pan right into the fire. Let's help you to understand what you seem to not understand. So, Jay, is there truth? Yes or no? That's all I need. Yes or no? No chatter.
Well, I said truth's a property of propositions.
Okay, Jay, stay on mute. Does anybody else have anything else?
Yeah. So you have to presuppose truth in order to know if your proposition is true.
Correct.
Or else you could just provide a proposition for any ridiculous thing, as long as it follows, as long as the argument you'd say would be sound, like all living things have a consciousness, cells are living things, peanut butter is made of things with cells, so peanut butter has a consciousness. Is that true?
Yeah, so I had something to add as well.
Does peanut butter have a consciousness?
Yeah, so I had something to add as well.
So does peanut butter have a consciousness?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I gave you. I gave you.
Holy moly! Look,
hold on. Where's the?
Am I allowed?
How is it not the case that peanut butter doesn't have a consciousness? If I gave you a proposition for it, where was I wrong?
Well,
what went wrong there?
Look, is anyone interested in talking about whether peanut butter has consciousness, or can I say what I wanted to say earlier?
So you're gonna dodge?
Look, oh, okay, fine. So I take it that consciousness requires a brain and a nervous system.
I don't know where you got that from.
Well, I mean, that's just like.
Is that true? What you just said? Where'd you get that from? You think so?
Well, from my science classes.
Is I think so sufficient grounding for a truth claim?
What does grounding truth mean?
So I think you were on the right track before Jay came in. Let me explain. Let's say a person says A is true.
Can I say what I was going to say before?
No. I think you were derailed by Jay. So let's say one person says that A is... Billy, why are we doing this?
I was derailed, but I don't think it was Jay who derailed me.
Oh, no, I was actually derailed. But let's say that one person says A is true, right? I would ask you, how do you know? You say, well, because B is true. Well, how do you know B is true? Because C is true. Now, this process can go on infinitely, right? Or eventually it's going to have to be grounded somewhere. And if I say, well, how do you ultimately know when you get to Z? If I say, well, because I think so, is that a sufficient grounding? You've based all of these truth claims on somebody's thinking so.
So I think
that's not a. You're just grounding it on some mysterious brute fact that can change based on evidence, and you're calling it true. It's not absolute in that sense, right? Is it?
So, there's a few things I think you're bringing up, like the Munchausen Trilemma, which I accept. So
explain that.
I guess, yeah.
Explain that.
So the Munchausen Trilemma would be something like, for every justification, if you keep asking what justifies that, what justifies that, what justifies that, there's going to be either an appeal to some sort of just brute foundation that you just assume, some circularity, or an infinite regress of justification.
Well, you can't have an infinite regress because we don't have infinite time and infinite things, right?
What's the argument for that?
Do we have infinite time?
I think so.
Based on what?
Well, that's just an assumption I make, but I think
so.
Past
is that the great?
I think.
Hold on. Slow down. Look. So you're grounding. Are you grounding your?
Talking me. No, you're not going to keep over talking me.
Well, you're going to just gish gallop, Billy, and you're going to dodge. So are you grounding?
Mute him, please. No. Look.
Are you going to ground infinite time? And I think so.
You keep over talking me. Look.
Okay, let me know when you're ready to answer.
Sorry. So, you said that, is there infinite time? And I said, I think so, right? I think that the past is eternal, right? There's an eternal past. I don't have any justification for that. I don't have an argument for that. But it just seems intuitive to me. There doesn't appear to be a logical contradiction in saying that. And I think it's most parsimonious, right?
So
now,
hold on.
Sorry.
Are the moderators going to let Billy go on and gish gallop, or do I get to address what he just said?
Stop over talking me.
Is anyone moderating?
Hold on a second. Let me make something very clear, please.
I was nearly finished.
Hold on a second.
Look,
Billy,
I was.
What we as the participants with our ears, the audience, and myself included, because I'm listening, I'm looking for a conversation, and what I keep getting is, like, he'll respond to you, and like try to have a conversation and ask, and then what you do is you go on a monologue and you won't conversate with him. You're not answering any of his questions, so it's kind of hard to listen to. So if we could just like maybe 30 seconds and respond with your answer, and then maybe ask a question. 30 seconds, answer the question, say something, ask another question, however that goes. But let's answer the question first.
Yeah. Okay. So I was nearly.
Yeah.
Finished.
So I would like to
Oh
address
my
what he
goodness.
just said
Look, I was
before
nearly
Billy
finished.
goes on his next monologue.
I was nearly finished with my previous monologue.
Okay.
So
okay, I'll mod this. Billy,
so
take 30 to 45 seconds and go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I was nearly finished. So the question I asked, now Redefine said there isn't an infinite past, right? There is an infinite time, right? Now I'm just asking, what's the argument for that? So Redefine, can you present an argument that the past is not eternal? Go.
Well, the past is not eternal within our time, space, and matter, according to my worldview, okay? And according to the non-biblical worldview, the past is not eternal either. There's arguments from thermodynamics, and pretty much all of the astrophysics would agree that the past is not eternal, at least not within our time, space, and matter. But if you want to appeal to something outside of time, space, and matter, then you're going to violate your own criteria that you use to reject God. Now, the problem is we're in a conversation about justificatory paths for truth claims and grounding these things, and you just went on to prove my point. You made a claim, a truth claim, okay, that you believe that time is eternal. And I asked you, what's the justification for that? And you said, well, I think so. It seems parsimonious to me, but that's arbitrary. And you found yourself in the egocentrical predicament where you, Billy, get to decide what is true. How's that work?
Well, I don't think I decide what it's true. I think I hold views that seem true to me, but I guess I just had a question, right? Redefine, can you just maybe present an argument and premises and conclusion for why God exists?
Yeah, that's a red herring. We're talking about justifying truth claims and grounding. Okay, and so I gave you an argument. I said that, either A is true because of B is true because of C is true, and we would ground all facts that we're acquainted with, all the physical in this physical world and outside of this physical world in God. That's how we're going to ground it. So ultimately, at some point, we're going to avoid. At some point, we're going to avoid this Munchausen's dilemma or trilemma, you called it, by grounding these things in God.
Yeah, what's the argument that God exists? Sorry to find.
So, yeah, so
do you have an argument?
Again, that's a red. So again, this is a red herring. You're trying to change the
the
subject. So now you're going to interrupt me and be rhetorical. So that's not what we're talking about. Yes, I do. Okay, but we're talking about grounding truth. And so far, your only argument for truth is you think so. If you just think something.
Yeah, so let's just say I don't have a grounding for truth. What's the argument that God exists? Redefine.
Yeah, so if you can't ground anything as absolute and true, then what can you know?
Let's just say.
Can you know one thing ultimately?
Let's just say I can't. I can't know anything. I'm terrible. What's the argument that God exists? Redefine.
Well, then there you go, guys. I just showed you right now.
Okay.
So when Billy wants to come here and make claims that he can know something from a position where ultimately his grounding is, well, because I think so, it's not very convincing for me. It's definitely not very rational.
Okay, what's the argument that God exists? Redefine.
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer that, but I'm wondering if anyone else in the room wants to add to that.
No, it makes sense to me. Thank you, Redefine.
Yeah, so what's the argument that God exists? Redefine.
Yeah, so the argument that God exists is that the biblical worldview is the only worldview that can offer a coherent explanation for reality, including truth.
What's the argument for that?
I just gave you one.
I mean,
can you account for truth?
Why would
sounded like a claim?
Yeah, why would someone accept that? Are you saying that all other worldviews entail a contradiction?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what contradiction is entailed in saying that God doesn't exist?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer you and the same question that Jay posed last time. The contradiction is that the biblical worldview and the non-biblical worldview cannot coexist. So a single fact that is not grounded in God is a violation of the biblical worldview. So there's a contradiction.
Yeah, I'm asking for the proposition and its negation in conjunction.
And,
So P
and
and
have
not
I
P, right? So
have I
sorry,
been so that would be the
sorry.
biblical worldview and the non-biblical worldview.
Look, stop interrupting me. So you
Hey, I'm going
said
to interrupt both
that-
of you guys. This is kind of a topic that we don't really get into in this room. We don't really
get into why God exists.
No, we do, but we're not going to be going through a 3-hour discussion on epistemology and ontology because, quite frankly, there are other questions, and we need to get to those as well. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is take this to a side room if you want, and redefine. I would absolutely encourage you to take Billy aside and continue to have this conversation with him. But we're gonna move on to somebody else now.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, sure. I have to go to work soon, but Redefine in maybe about 3 hours I'll be free, so we can have a conversation there. Also, the offer's still open for like a formal debate if you want to. So yeah.
Great. Thanks, guys.
I still can't get over him saying cows have children.
So, wait, can I finish what I was saying before I was asked to be muted?
What were you up to, Jay?
I was just asking because Roy said that all knowledge is hidden in Christ, but he also defined Christ as knowledge. So does that mean that all knowledge is hidden in knowledge?
What's your definition of knowledge?
Well, I'm just talking about Roy's definition.
Roy's definition makes sense to me.
Sorry?
It makes sense to me, but if the scripture was Roy's definition, that's why I'm asking you, what do you mean by knowledge then?
What? So all knowledge is hidden in knowledge makes sense
No,
to
it's
you?
Jesus. Jesus is the foundation of all knowledge.
Now, Roy said Jesus is knowledge.
Jesus is knowledge as well, yes. That makes sense to me.
So
now,
Jesus is...
if you have a different definition of knowledge, I can understand why that may not make sense to you. So,
well, I'm just wondering what it means to say all knowledge is hidden in knowledge.
That for you to know all truth, you must come to Jesus.
What, so knowledge is truth, are you saying?
Well, redefine. Just had like a 30-minute discussion about, can you have knowledge without truth?
So knowledge isn't truth.
Yeah, you can have false knowledge, right? But you can't actually know a thing without truth, can you? How does that work?
No, so I'm
So
asking...
if you don't have a worldview that can account for truth, then I don't know. You should probably be asking yourself these questions. Do you have a worldview that can account for truth in an absolute sense?
I mean,
meaning that it's not based on a foundation or a web of brute facts.
But if you hold to JTB,
where there's nothing primary, are there any primary facts in your worldview?
You made a mistake, right?
Secondary?
Because you said that you can have knowledge that is false, but if you hold to JTB, whereas knowledge is a justified true belief, then that's just false, right? You can't have knowledge that's
I don't hold to justified true beliefs. There's an absurdity in there.
Okay, so what do you mean by knowledge then? What's your theory of knowledge?
Well, this has been explained many times, and I believe that the moderator made it clear that we're going to end this conversation. But you can catch the replay.
Justified true belief takes about 1 second to say. So, what's your definition of knowledge? Like 1 second.
Well, I said there's an absurdity within that system or that methodology where
so what's
you're going
your
to try
definition?
to explain things with a justified true belief.
Yeah. So, what's your definition of knowledge?
Of truths that come from Christ that are directly grounded in a biblical worldview.
Okay, cool. That's cleared everything up. Thank you.
I think I've been very clear. You can reject that.
Yeah,
Do you have grounds? Do you have grounds to reject that?
I don't know what the grounding relation you're referring to is.
Do you have an argument to reject that?
I mean, I don't even understand it.
Mm-hmm. So no.
All right. So moderator number 2 is going to come up and say, everybody mute. And let's find out if somebody that wasn't already talking for the last half hour has anything to say to put a cherry on top of all of this. And if not, we're going to go to another topic. And if we don't have anything, we'll come right back to it. So let's just make sure that we're not holding up anybody from asking a question or putting a topic on the table. Anyone?
Yeah, so I wasn't talking for half hour.
What's your question?
Yeah, Roy, you said Jesus, you defined knowledge as Jesus, but you said all knowledge is hidden in Jesus. So does that mean that all knowledge is hidden in knowledge? Is that what you were saying?
No.
No? So what?
Jay, are you born again? Yes or no? That's all I need. No chatter. If you chatter, I'll mute you and send you to the audience. It's that simple. Are you born again? Yes or no?
I've only been born once, as far as I know.
One down. Okay. Anybody else got anything?
Did you just move him down to the audience?
Didn't I say I would if he didn't answer yes or no? Did he not hear me? You heard me.
What's a habloo-bloo? Yes or no?
What's a what?
What's a habloo-bloo? Do you have a habloo-bloo? Yes or no?
What is he
Yes.
talking about?
I would say yes. Next question for 500.
So you have a vagina then?
That's what that means?
All right.
All right. We see where his mind is.
Yep.
Anybody want to come up and ask a question, put something on the table?
Can we have Felix refute the children and cows thing?
I've got a question. I've got a question. Are you guys control freaks?
No, we just freak out when there's no control. How about you?
Oh, no, I'm a control freak, yeah.
Okay, cool. Does that satisfy your question?
Yeah.
Here comes Todd. All right. Todd to the rescue.
Hello.
Todd, what do you got?
Yeah. A blue. What is that?
Yes.
That's the female sexual organ, apparently. All right.
Well, that just,
presuppositionalists. They're fun.
that just goes to show what Billy's metaphysics understanding is. It's completely nonsensical.
Billy's a troll. You guys all know that, right? He just comes up here because I let him, or whoever brings him up. Because I'll give him a lot of leeway. I'm hoping one day he'll go, guys. I'm sorry I've been a troll all this time. I am going to repent. Can you lead me to the born again experience? Because I trust you. All these other rooms sucketh, and I'm tired of them, and I'm sick and tired of being my own God. I don't like it. Making all these wrong decisions. Dang it.